Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
Hey, it's me, Egbert, E-G-G-B-U-R-T. Check out my website at egbert.com. Now it's back to those two dudes who told me they would bring in big ratings. They better are their history. Here are Brad and John.
I don't know about the ratings, John. We're working on it. This is the BJ Show. I'm Shelley. He's not Brad.
Shelley.
Good old Shelley.
Boy, that's some muscle memory in your brain, right? Isn't that, Brad?
Man, I tell you what, 4 years of doing that with her, you know? I mean, and you know what? You've met her before, right?
Oh, yeah.
She's a unique person. And
she's wonderful. She's a wonderful human being.
Going through some rough times right now. So everybody, matter of fact, if you want to know something funny, she's one of the people that's called the prayer line, which is 25 God Squad.
Oh,
nice. And she asked for a prayer, and by asking for a prayer, she used some inappropriate language, which was sort of funny. So I even said to her, I said, I'm going to take that. I'm going to use that in here. She's, you better not. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. Okay. John and I sit here every morning for an hour, and we talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. There has been all sorts of crazy things going on in St. Louis County again. We talked about this, the crazy stuff going on with the jobs, and the latest one. How did it ever come out with the dude who got thrown off the county council for like 12 hours and back on because he hired his stepdaughter or whatever it was? What was the resolve on that?
I first of all, I don't think there's been a resolution, but as I understand it, he hired her, but she didn't start, but she kind of started, but then she didn't start, so she couldn't be let go because she never started.
Well, don't people in government realize that almost in every level of government there's an anti-nepotism rule that you can't hire your relatives? I mean,
yeah, but I do think you can get you can get a relative hired, but you can't be the one that hires them. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can see to it that your relatives get, interviews for jobs and you can put in a good word for them, but you can't hire them directly.
Which is what he supposedly did, right?
Yeah, allegedly. But I mean, Brad, talk about a tiny thing happening in the grander scope of what's happening. And again, I'm not an expert on St. Louis County government, but I would think that St. Louis County would have, first of all, it seems like that was a clear case of nepotism, but I don't know. I didn't follow it closely enough. But it seems like there's probably some bigger things going on in St. Louis County government.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Do you get these crazy texts from time to time?
Can you be a little more vague?
Well, no, the scam.
Do they say Brad Hildebrand? No. And I would say, yes, this is a crazy text.
No, the scam text where the one I got here we go. I got this one over the weekend, okay? U.S. Customs. You have a USPS parcel being cleared due to the detection of an invalid zip code address. The parcel cannot be cleared. The parcel is temporarily detained. Please confirm the zip code address information in the link within 24 hours. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, Brad. I got the exact same one Saturday at 12:03 p.m.
I got mine Saturday at 11:48. So
yeah.
Okay.
So, these are just the Indian scams that try to get your money.
Right now, but here's interesting. I got this one this morning, and this is interesting because it comes from Mohammed Mesdi7 at Outlook.com, okay? And it says, Apple security alert. We have noticed that your Apple ID was recently used at Apple Store for $143.95, authorized by, paid for by Apple prepay authorization, blah, 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 blah. Now, what's interesting on this one is, if you look at the address, it shows billing support.apple.com/billing. Now that looks like a legitimate address, and it says
so that's what they do, Brad. Like, they'll put a legitimate address, and you've watched these scam baiting videos before, I'm sure. And as the scams evolve, they'll use real domains or they'll make their own domain look like a different domain. Yeah, I mean, they're going to use that because it's just anything to provide credibility.
You cutting out a little bit this morning. I don't know if that's on my end or your end.
Okay. I was just saying that a lot of times the scammers, as the scams evolve, they'll use real domains like to say, hey, look, here's our customer support page, which is a legitimate Apple customer support page, just to build credibility.
Okay, I got you. Okay, tomorrow is the big debate. First off, are you sitting at home? Are you going out to a bar or someone invited you to their place to watch?
Oh, I doubt. I don't think I'll watch it. I'm going to be doing some things with multiple kids when that's going on. I can't imagine sitting down and watching it, but I know a lot of other people will.
Okay, over the weekend, it's come out on several of the polls that essentially the race is a dead heat. And I think the latest poll that came out, I think it was in New York Times, one of the universities came out, it showed with Trump having 1 point advantage over Harris, but essentially that's within the margin of error. Okay, what's your read on this? Do you think that tomorrow will be one and done as far as the debates are concerned? Do you think, I mean, Trump's saying, hey, let's do another 2 after tomorrow night, and I don't think that the Harris campaign is going to do that. What's your read on this situation?
Yeah, I can't imagine Kamala's people will want her to be on stage with Trump more than once. I mean, I think if we see the same Trump that we saw during the debate with Biden, I don't think the Kamala campaign wants anything to do with being on the same stage as Trump.
Now, you say that the same Trump we saw with Biden. Did you think he was good that night?
Oh, absolutely. I thought he was really good.
And because is that the reason why the Harris committee, Harris people, whatever, wanted to open up the microphones, because they thought that they would embarrass Trump, because he would be, yelling at her all the time, and she would, remember the line? You ever heard that the sound bite from when she debated Pence? Do you know that story?
What's that? What was the sound bite?
Well, he she was saying something, and they were sort of going back and forth, and she was going, I'm talking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she wanted to make all the gals be like, oh, I know what it's like to have a man interrupt me. I mean, that's the point of that line, Oh, so relatable. Hashtag relatable. I'm having a man explain things. Let's talk about the gender gap, which doesn't really exist, but makes me feel like a victim and I can complain. Hashtag relatable.
Well, see, there's so much. I guess it's to the point where my thing has always been, if you really pump something up, then to me, it's 9 times out of 10 is a disappointment. You know what I mean? You go, oh my God, it's to the point where I have this problem with movies. If somebody, like for example, you name all these top movies, chances are I've never seen any of them. And the reason for that is that when a movie comes out and it gets good publicity right off the bat, people go, oh my God, it's such a great movie. I get so hyped. If I go see the movie, I'm totally disappointed. I'm expecting the actors to come out of the screen and walk up and down the aisles and go buy me a bag of popcorn and, sit down next to me. I mean, that's what I'm expecting. I mean, obviously I'm being facetious when I say that, but that's my motto, and sometimes you make fun of me, and that's what I try to do personally: under promise, over deliver. If I say I'm not the smartest guy in the room, then when I do say something smart, people go, oh my God, he said something smart.
Are you tying this back to the Harris? Does this have to do with the Harris and Trump debate?
Well, I heard an authority say tomorrow could be a deal breaker. And they were saying it could be a deal breaker for either candidate. It could be to the point where Trump could come out. And the exact thing they're saying is, look at what happened with the first debate when it was Trump and Biden, and that essentially totally changed the landscape. He came out. I mean, I remember watching it. I was streaming online, and I remember the first 5 minutes I'm going like, what the hell is going on? I mean, to me, it was like right from the get-go, I'm going like, am I seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah, because Biden looks so bad is what you mean.
Well, but then the interesting thing was I'm watching it on CNN, and they had this great big panel. They had like 8 or 9 people on the panel, and they're all, the like the pregame show, like you see like, with Howie Long and things like that, and they're sitting around, and that, and the big, well, we think what's going to happen. They're going to come out throw, and they're going to, the running game's going to be in the second half, that kind of stuff, and they're like all pumped, and they come back after the thing. And it's like, okay, this is CNN. And Van Jones was like, oh, my God, I don't know what happened. What happened?
He said the president is my friend, but he did not have a good night tonight.
Yes, I know. I mean, and the crazy thing about that is it's sort of like last week where you and I sort of kidded about this, where Kamala goes into her foghorn leghorn accent.
Oh, I do declare. They tied. The union workers are tied.
Right. And then Peter Doocy asked KJP at the White House presser, and she's going like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no
That's so good.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm going like, once again, don't you think that at some point that even the Democrats are going like, okay, we've got to watch it, because it gets to a certain point where it gets unbelievable if we say, we don't know what you're talking about, Peter. We have no idea.
But I just think in the grander context of all this, though, even when we talk about the debate tomorrow, so many people are so locked into their opinions that I think the debate matters very little, except for to further confirm what you are. If you think that Kamala is a cackling empty suit, then you'll come out tomorrow probably thinking the same thing. If you think Donald Trump is an arrogant jerk, you're going to come out tomorrow thinking the same thing.
Well, I love satire. I used to watch. Matter of fact, back in the day, to give you an example of this, you used to be able to buy the actual paper version of The Onion at World News in Clayton. Did you ever do that?
I used to read in college, Brad, I would read the paper edition of The Onion.
Yes, you could buy the actual the printed edition of The Onion, okay? And I think that Babylon Bee has sort of surpassed them now. Part of it is I think The Onion's been sold a few times and some ownership changes. It's sort of like maybe like a Riverfront Times kind of deal. Okay, the Babylon Bee sometimes has stories in there that are so funny, but the reason they're funny is because of the fact that they're true, but they're pointing out the ultimate craziness of true things. And the one that was over the weekend was the fact that they have Dick Cheney and Vladimir Putin endorsing Kamala Harris. So and there's a picture of her. Let's see if we can find it. Have you seen this? It's pretty funny. The screen.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, the screenshot is. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And the headline is a classic as well too. Here it is. Right. No, that's not it. Come on. It's. I saw it just the other day. I think I saved it. Anyway, it's got a picture of Dick Cheney's on the left side. It's and she's like standing at a podium, and Vladimir Putin's on the right side. And the funny part of it is, it sounds almost ridiculous, but if you know the true story, both Dick Cheney and Vladimir Putin have come out endorsing Kamala Harris. Now,
yeah, here's the headline, Brad. Maybe we took a wrong turn somewhere. Thinks party whose candidate just got endorsed by Dick Cheney and Vladimir Putin.
You got it. That's the one. And when you think about that, see, if I were Trump, that's exactly what I would do. I'd come out and say, hey, some of you know who the Babylon Bee is. Well, sometimes, lampooning can be the ultimate truth. And here's a perfect example of this. Can you imagine I'm running against, and Trump saying this, I'm running against a woman who's just been endorsed by Dick Cheney. You remember Dick Cheney? People, because I know that Trump and Cheney have no affection for each other. And
yeah.
And the crazy part of this is that there's a classic part of the debate. I believe this goes back to, if I'm trying to think my math here, 2012, okay? So that was when Barack Obama was running for re-election, and he was up against Mitt Romney, okay? And you remember this debate where it came up that the moderator asked Mitt Romney what he felt were some of the pressing needs that the United States had to address, and he talked about that he was very concerned about Russia And remember,
I do remember that. Yeah.
Remember the quote? Remember the quote that Barack Obama came out with?
I don't. You've mentioned it before. What was it?
He said, "The 80s have called, and they want their diplomatic policy back," or something to that effect. In other words, he made fun of Mitt Romney about worrying about Russia. Okay, think about that now. And
of course.
The crazy part of that is that who are we worried about? Well, not necessarily Russia, but we're worried about the fact that Russia is now sort of linked up with China and North Korea and Iran. And you're going like, okay, this is not good. Not good for us.
Well, and by the way, you mentioned the Riverfront Times. We got a nice shout out from the Riverfront Times the other day. Did you see that? I sent it to you.
Explain that to me. You sent that to me. What was that?
They were responding to we talked about them on the show last week, whatever day that was.
Right.
So the Riverfront Times made a graphic, like, you know how when you give a Yelp, like a 5-star review.
Right.
The Riverfront Times created a graphic that said, "From bjshow.co with love," and it had our show logo, and they had the quote from me, where when you and I were talking about it, I said, "It does look like some of it has been written by humans," and then they put 5 stars, like we're giving them a 5-star review. Which shows, hey, that was generated by a human, or at least we think it was.
It wasn't AI. Okay, here's the latest Babylon Bee. I'm looking at it right now, and it's got a picture of Trump, and he's got 3 young women who all have drinks. Looks like it's a bar, and the headline is, "Trump prepares for debate against Kamala by going to bar and arguing with drunks." Tomorrow night's going to be interesting. You say you got other commitments?
Yeah. I got kid stuff all night tomorrow night, but I imagine when I come back, I'll probably at least see the headline, or at least see some clips on social media. Like, I'm not going to sit down and invest an hour watching it, but I know a lot of people will.
Well, I can see into the future. I don't know if I told you this, John. I'm one of the things I can see, and I'm right now seeing the CNN headline, and CNN says, "Trump destroyed by Harris," and then I'm reading the Fox headline. It says, "Harris is destroyed by Trump." Do you think I'm right on that?
Yeah, I think there's going to just be a whole lot of confidence bias. I think it will be pretty boring, though. I do look forward to seeing what Trump's temperament is. And I hope, as a Trump partisan, I hope that he keeps the same relative level of I don't know if calm is the right word, but measured intensity that he had during the Biden debate.
Okay. If I were Trump, you know what I'd do? This is exactly what I'd do.
I have, Lord knows.
If every time, when I had my time, and the mic's off, my mic is off, I'm Trump, and Kamala goes into a 2-minute dissertation about something, they ask her, and they'd go to Trump, and they go, "Mr. Trump, same question." And he would just look at the camera and smile and say, "That's what she said."
Oh, there you go. 100% of fans of The Office would vote for Trump.
Right. Okay, John, time for you to get busy with other stuff besides this. Say goodbye.
That's right. Goodbye. See you guys tomorrow.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?